What's up everyone, it's Joe from the Wrong Channel, and today I feel like talking about one of my favorite SNES titles. That is, of course, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. Now, the only problem with doing this is that everybody else also likes this game. And it's already been talked about to death. So that's why I'm not going to be talking about that game specifically. Instead, I'm going to talk about a complete hack of the game. That's right, Legend of Zelda Parallel Worlds. Now, I don't know if you guys have or haven't heard about this game, or maybe even played it yourselves, but let me tell you something. I was not prepared. I was not prepared. It's hard.
The introductory cutscenes both have the same pacing and events. However, there have been graphical changes made to the cutscene for Parallel Worlds, as well as change in plot. While in A Link to the Past your objective is to rescue 7 maidens and defeat Ganon, in Parallel Worlds your objective is to discover clues left behind by 7 people from the parallel world that will help you to defeat Dragor, who is essentially Ganon for all intents and purposes. The gameplay in Parallel Worlds also begins similarly to A Link to the Past, but there is immediately one glaring difference. Link's infamous pink hair is now blonde. As soon as you step outside, the changes made to the game punch you in the face. The overworld is completely different. New layouts, new areas, and new challenges. Whereas in A Link to the Past, it's practically impossible to die as you're guided through the starting areas, in Parallel Worlds, it's almost the opposite. There are many enemies that can kill you right off the bat, and you only start with 3 hearts. However, you can find another full heart early on in the game, which you'll definitely need. You'll also encounter many enemies early on in Parallel Worlds that don't make an appearance in A Link to the Past until much later in the game. This is especially challenging considering that you don't get a sword in Parallel Worlds until you're deep within the guardhouse. So you ask yourself, how am I supposed to fight enemies without a weapon? Well, you do get some bombs throughout the beginning of the game, and you'll be throwing a lot of pots at enemies for a while, but mostly you'll be doing a lot of avoiding. Depending on how you decide to play Parallel Worlds will also gauge how difficult the game is. If you're playing on an emulator or a Retcon 5, you'll have a much easier time due to having the use of save states. But if you decide to do it old school and play on an actual cartridge in an actual SNES, you'll probably run into a lot of frustration. Case in point, you don't reach your first save point in Parallel Worlds until after you've finished the guardhouse and made it safely to the church. If you die before that point, you have to start from the beginning again. Every time. This, in my opinion, is one of the hardest parts of the game, because once you actually get your sword and save, you get a little bit more breathing room. But make no mistake, the rest of the game will certainly offer up more challenges and make you think about using items, such as bombs, in creative ways in order to progress.
So that was Legend of Zelda Parallel Worlds. Like I said, it's a complete hack of the original Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past for the SNES. Now ordinarily I don't condone the use of emulators or ROMs or things of that nature, but considering this is not an officially licensed Nintendo game, using an emulator is probably going to be the main way that you're going to be able to play this game. Now, the way that I play it was with the actual cartridge. Somebody put the ROM onto a cartridge and that's how I played it. But you'd probably want to use an emulator just for the save states alone, because like you've seen, this is a very difficult game, especially in the beginning. My God, what a beginning it was. Brutal, really, if you think about it. Really, it's just a fun game to kind of pick up and play around with, especially if you're a fan of the original Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. This is more of just kind of like an experiment to see what else could there have been. Because this actually is a very well-made hack of the game. You can tell a lot of attention to detail was put into it. There might have been a few areas here and there where they could have tweaked it a bit better, but overall you could tell that a lot of care was put into making this game. And years at least, I'm sure. Especially with just two people. Good grief. That amount of detail in this hack of a game for two people, that's a lot of work. But I'm Joe from the Wrong Channel. Thank you guys for watching. Just felt like doing something a little different today. Like I said, not an officially licensed Nintendo game. I mean, there's games out there that are like that. I really enjoy Super Metroid, but that's another game I don't really want to talk about because, it's been talked about to death. Just like Link to the Past. However, there are some pretty interesting looking Super Metroid hacks out there, so maybe I'll look into one of those one day soon. Have a great day!